Hey there friends, welcome back. I'm Christina and Manita, and today we are talking about DIY gifting for this holiday season. It is less than 2 weeks until Christmas, so that means that it is the perfect time and not too late to start talking about the very important steps that go into DIY gifting for the season. So if you, like me, have been doing this for a really long time, maybe some of these things are old hat to you and maybe you'll learn something new along the way. I hope to just show you some of the basic steps that I go through, especially keeping like zero waste, low waste, and budget in mind as I try to put together my list of things that I'm going to make for my dearest loved ones this holiday season in, of course, as always, too short of a time. I am a serial DIY gift giver. I've been doing this for a very long time, and my process has changed throughout the years depending on the focus of the year, things that my family is loving that year, things that I'm loving doing that year, my budget, and all that stuff. So let's just dive right in and see what we're making this holiday season. Okay, so step one in this process of DIY gift giving, especially with the mindset of zero waste, low waste, and a budget of this economy, is to take stock, take inventory of what you have that you can reasonably make some gifts with this year. So I gathered up a bunch of supplies that I have sitting around that I've been gathering. So let's just look at what I've got here for an example. So on top, I've got some jewelry making stuff. Jewelry's a fun thing to make. Other things that can be made with beads, we'll get to later. I've got cotton batting and polyfill that I bought in my last video for a project, so I can use this up in many projects. Of course, I've got this huge fabric stash, and this isn't even my whole fabric stash, but I thought I'd just, for a visual representation. Lots of fabrics. I've got big ones, I've got small ones, lots of things that are thrifted to be upcycled, and then also like tons of scraps. So this year I'm gonna try to focus a little bit more on the scraps because I have so many fabric scraps from all the awesome projects that I've done this year. So hoping to make some stuff out of that. Other crafty things I have, this is my stash of yarn and embroidery floss, yarn and embroidery floss. So lots of that. And then less crafty things, more like, I guess they're not less crafty, but other, categories of things. I've got some dried orange peels that I prepared a couple months ago that have just been sitting here waiting for inspiration. I've got some dried lavender that I took from our garden before we moved. So lots of that. I also have many bottles of this coconut oil because my partner's mom got us a subscription and then they sent us way too much. So we stopped that, but I've got like 4 bottles of this. So that could be fun. And then I have this huge piece of beeswax left over from last year. I made some candles last year, so I can make some more candles or some other stuff. So that's just like kind of a sample of what I have in my taking stock, thinking about what are things that I already have so I don't have to buy too much that I can jump off of this year. So step one, take stock, take inventory, see what you've got laying around. Okay, so step two, after you've taken stock, you've taken inventory, you've figured out what you already have that you can use for gifting this season, is to collect some inspo, do some brainstorming. So of course, first I usually write down all the people that I need to have gifts for this season to get an idea of how many gifts I need to make. Can there be like couple gifts, like household gifts? And also like thinking about, is there anything in particular that that person has been interested in this year, has mentioned that they want this year, like a theme that could go with something that they've been like fixated on this year, hobbies and things. And then of course, turning to things like Pinterest for some inspo, social media, I often find some inspo on there, and especially like being able to see the videos of how the things are made is really helpful. And then of course, don't forget to check your library. So your library, I'm sure, has several crafting books in whatever discipline you are interested in. So go to your library, just flip through some books. I find that sometimes it's more enjoyable to like flip through a book than to like scroll through Pinterest with all the ads and like all the extra crap that I don't want to look at. And then also in the books, they usually have all the information about what supplies you need and how to do it, and maybe more information about how to find some stuff online about it. Also, I think this is good to kind of like even hone in on like what kind of craft you want to do, because if your library has like a lot of books on a lot of crafts, maybe there's some that you haven't thought of before, like paper crafts, origami, or yeah, just some like clever stuff. I really enjoyed going to my library and looking through all of the crafting books that they had and getting a little bit of inspo from that. So in this step, I'll just throw in a tip, a pro tip, and that is to consider, of course, your strengths. We already considered like things that you already have, but what are some strengths that you have? What kind of crafts are you really good at this year? Like, what are your strengths? So of course, like for me, this is mostly like in a crafty sense of all of these DIYs, but maybe your craft is gardening and herbalism, or like using scraps from food rather than scraps from like making scraps from like fabric. So consider your kind of discipline. Like, do you love to bake or cook? Like things like that. Play to your strengths. Don't play to my strengths, because we're very different people. We have different interests. We have different experiences in our crafts and different crafts. There's so many to choose from. Maybe you love ceramics. Maybe you love working with clay. That's something that I wish I was good at. Maybe wood crafting. Consider your strengths, and no matter what anybody says on the internet, try and do things that are kind of in your discipline, that are comfortable to you. All right, so we took stock, we took inventory, we collected some inspo from various sources, and step 3, here's where the magic starts happening, and that is setting some realistic goals for yourself. So this is a really important step. Sometimes I skip this step and then I lay it on way too thick. I have way too ambitious ideas. I don't get all my projects done in time, and I don't have good enough gifts to give. So really spend a little bit of time on this, setting your goals. Be realistic about your time, especially like how much time do you have? How much time is it going to take to make these things? Your budget, like are you going to have to buy some additional things, and how much are you willing to spend? And then also being realistic about what people actually want to receive. I think one huge mistake that DIY gifters make is giving things that they want to make and not necessarily giving things that people want to receive. And that is a mistake that I've made many a time, trying to learn from those mistakes. So being realistic this year, especially in the general ambiance of 2025, just giving people things that they actually need or want, things that will be meaningful to them. Yeah, important to note. So for example, for me, like I said in the previous step, like thinking about how many people I need to make for, what are some things that I can make. Also considering like what are things that I've made before. Another kind of mistake is making something for the first time and giving that. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but as I've done in the past, I have given stuff that was not very functional, not very good, because it was my first time making that thing. And I only had enough time to make that one thing. So considering that as well. What are you doing, Luna? And then also considering like, can I make multiple of the same thing? So I think that it's often helpful, depending on what kind of craft and what you're making, it's often helpful to make a few of the same thing and have those to give to multiple people, you know, with slight variations depending on their personality and upon their needs. So for example, something that I want to make this year, a multiple of, is like little triangle scarves. And this is breaking my own rule because I have never made one before, but I would like to make one, at least one for my mom and one for my sister. I think is helpful. It's helpful to kind of master that thing. It's helpful because you probably already have all the supplies that you need for it. So think about kind of making some batch things that you can make more than one of, that again are appropriate for who you're gifting to. So one of my favorite things that I made last year, actually the favorite thing that I made last year, was a tie for my dad. And it was just something about it. It was so satisfying. It was not that hard to do. I loved working on the bias. Just, that was my favorite thing that I made last year for sure. And I wish that there were more people in my life who wore ties, because literally my dad's the only one, and I don't need to give him a tie 2 years in a row, I don't think. But highly recommend that if you're a sewer and you're looking for some fun crafts to try this year. That one is so quick. It uses not that much fabric, even though it's cut on the bias. And it's just so satisfying. Some other sewing things, guitar strap was something that I thought about making this year. Like if there's somebody in your life who plays instruments or like has some sort of like gear that needs a strap, like that's a fun thing to make. All you really need is the hardware. Maybe just like some little pouches, a wallet. I made a wallet for myself this year. It went pretty well. That could be a fun thing to make for somebody, especially with like a theme, if you have a cute fabric that you think they would like. Embroidered tea towels. I think that would be fun if you thrift like a set of tea towels and just embroider them with something personal for the person. Last year I also made a lot of aprons. Those went over really well and were really easy to make. It's nice, again, a nice thing to batch create. With like my jewelry making stuff, obviously some jewelry, but I also had this idea the other night from Pinterest that I think would be really fun, and that is like a sun catcher. I think everybody appreciates a cute sun catcher. And then just the last couple ones, along with like the jar things, I think like a simmer pot is a fun thing to gift, like a potpourri, like just a jar full of things, like I have these orange peels and like the lavender, like just a bunch of like smelly things that you can throw into a pot and make it smell really nice. It's not food, but I think that that's a fun little gift, and something that like often people like wouldn't buy or do for themselves. So I think it's a nice thing to give in that way. And then the last thing I was thinking was seed bombs and or like plants. Like if you have the equipment and ability and the green thumb to give some plants, like maybe you start some seeds. And I think that seed bombs are also a fun gift as well. Okay, I feel like that list is pretty exhaustive. I feel like I hit most of the things that I wanted to hit, and I hope that there was some sort of inspiration, something new, some idea, or some encouragement of something that you wanted to try this year that hopefully sparked some joy in you. I would like to throw in another tip here, which is that one gift is okay. I think for a very long time, I thought that it needed to be multiple gifts. One gift was not acceptable or not enough, and that's just not true. And it doesn't need to be true, and these are not things that we need to perpetuate. So one gift is plenty. Another tip to go with that is like a theme is really good. So maybe you thrift one thing and make one thing. Like I think that that's a really fun way to like kind of make it more than one gift, but like it's really one cohesive thing. And then you only have to make that one thing. So consider like things that maybe if you want to do some thrifting, what are some things that would be easy to thrift? For me, maybe like casserole dish or some other like kitchen supplies, a mug, like things to go with, something that I could make as a personal item as well. So one gift is okay. It's okay to give just one thing. All right, we are almost through it. Step 4 is a step that you can skip altogether depending on what you have, what you want to make, what your budget is this year, and that is doing some gathering of supplies, additional supplies that you do not have. So maybe you have all the supplies you already need, and that is awesome. You can skip this step. But if you don't, please hear me when I say you don't need to buy your supplies new. So as part of this step, I would start very first thing with buy nothing groups, looking online, seeing if you can find the thing that you need or something similar in a buy nothing group. Also like checking with your friends. I know that I had like a little craft night with my friends and we were sharing about like different craft materials that we have a ton of that we would love to share. So maybe get together with some friends and you all bring your craft supplies and just kind of swap and use each other's supplies. I think that is a great way to make some cool things, experiment with some new stuff without having to buy anything. And then also your friends are benefiting from the same thing. You know, it's communal. We love it. Also, community connection is what we need most right now. So this is your sign to have a craft night with your friends. Okay, so beyond like the buy nothing groups, of course, going to your local thrift store, whether that's Goodwill, maybe that's not a good option for you. There's always Facebook Marketplace. So really try to buy things secondhand. It will help your budget. It will help the planet. It will help me to feel better about this. I personally, in my town, have a couple of specifically craft thrift stores, so secondhand craft stores, and that is where I will be doing my shopping. So check out in your area if you have one as well, because there are so many crafts out there that already exist in circulation that need to be crafted with. And then, of course, last resort, if you really need to, buying things new. It's okay. We all do it. Yeah, just be mindful of where it's coming from, where the money that you're giving is going, and whether you'll actually need that thing and use it all in the future. Yeah, easy. All right, and that brings us to our last step, step number 5. All right, and then of course, step number 5 is to do the actual making, the actual creating, and maybe you started your creating in one of the other steps, and that's okay, it's okay. But I just wanted to organize this in a way that made sense so that you really are paying attention, especially to not buying or acquiring more than you need, and using up things that you already have. So that's kind of why I made these steps so separate in that way. All right, create. So here I just wanted to throw in some fun ideas for maybe some things that I've made in the past, some things that I saw on Pinterest, some cool stuff. So in past years, some things that I've made that I felt good about easily, especially with like sewing. One year I did popcorn bags, and again, I did that as a batch thing. I made a bunch of these popcorn bags for people, and then I gifted them a jar of popcorn kernels with the bag. So I thought that was a fun theme gift, and it feels like more than just one thing because it's kind of a package deal. Of course, like knitting and crochet, mittens, scarves, and hats are usually pretty quick to make up depending on, you know, what pattern you use. So this year I definitely want to make maybe some fingerless gloves, which are pretty quick to make up, and some of those like little triangle scarf necktie thingies, because those are also pretty quick, and use less yarn because most of the yarn that I have is not like full skeins. For my people who like baking and cooking, cookies are always a good gift, especially if you dress them up and put them in like a cute little box. Making like a meal in a jar or a dessert in a jar, I love those. I've done those before. Maybe it's like a soup in a jar, or maybe it's like hot cocoa in a jar with like marshmallows on top, things like that. I think those are really cute, and you can just thrift a jar and maybe use supplies that you already have. And this is a great one to do in a batch situation, because maybe you buy like all the things that you need for this soup jar and you make a bunch of them and gift those. I think that's really fun, especially if you're somebody who needs like some extra gifts to just give out to people. Other small things that I'm planning to make this year, I hope to make some scrunchies because I have so many fabric scraps, and last year I gave a few and they were much appreciated. So definitely more scrunchies to come this year. I also saw like face masks, you know, like the sleeping mask. I want to make one of those for myself, but I think that that would be like a cute thing with like some scrunchies or like some like self-care type of thing. Choosing a theme can really help with curating these ideas and making them make sense in like a cohesive gift. Okay, and then that was all of our steps, but of course the last thing to do is wrap. So as a bonus, I just thought I'd add some wrapping tips in here. Budget, zero waste wrapping tips. I think it would be really fun this year to make some fabric bows. Bows are something that like people buy every year and they throw out immediately every year. And I think it would be fun to like make some fabric bows. I've also seen people make fabric wrapping paper. Like those are fun things to make. It's an additional step, of course, but then it lasts you, you know, through the years. You keep passing it back and forth. Maybe making some DIY paper, like if you have a lot of paper bags from the grocery store, using like making your own stamps, using stamps, using Sharpie to just color some things on there. But like finding things like that like were gonna be recycled anyway, and using those a little more creatively, giving them a second life. For something that we know is literally just going to get thrown out. And especially when you gift to somebody else, you can't control what they do to that. So doing the work on your end to like upcycle, recycle, make it reusable, that helps in not expecting them to do those things if that's not their lifestyle. All right, and I think that is a wrap. Those are my 5 steps plus some bonus steps and tips that will hopefully help you make some amazing DIY gifts this year, hopefully for free or very cheap, hopefully in a way that people will love to receive, and hopefully in a way that is fun to you. I've been watching a lot of Christmas movies lately and remembering that the giving is like the most important part of this season. It's not the getting, it's not like the lights and the whatever, all of that. Like those are important things too, but really the giving is what is most important for getting the holiday spirit. So I think that a lot of times I put so much pressure on myself to make so many things, make them quickly, and I don't actually enjoy the act of making those things for the people that I love. So this year, really making things with love, putting that energy into it and feeling good about it while I'm doing it, to extend the holiday spirit, to remind myself that it's the giving that's important, just trying to find some fun and some joy in those details to really extend this season of giving, this season of love and light, depending on your perspective, and hopefully have a wonderful Christmas. So I hope that this was fun to you. If I gave you some good ideas, please give me a like, maybe a subscribe, and let me know in the comments if there was anything else that I left out. Are you a DIY gifter and you thought of some steps that maybe I left out? Let me know down in the comments. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. So happy crafting and happy Christmas. Thanks for being here. I'm Christina and Manita, and I'll see you next time. Bye.